but it should be. But also, Sean was saying that how does this relate to that representation of young people and women in Parliament isn't there? So.
Yeah. Right? So in terms of like voting as well, you know, kind of like marginal seats and things like that, where a party can only get like they get a certain amount of votes, but really the votes that were towards other parties collectively, like if you kind of add them up, they were more than the votes maybe to the party that won. So then we kind of feel like not everyone's kind of interests are being represented as well, and that kind of puts us off of kind of getting involved, if you know what I mean. Because if I wasn't to vote for the main three parties, and I kind of opted to go for someone else, I would feel that would be a wasted vote, because it's very unlikely that that party will kind of, you know, there's the three, and if you don't vote for the three, then there's kind of no point voting.
Yeah, I agree, that's the reality. It then becomes, if you support that particular candidate, you have to make a judgment before the race or before the contest. Like, for example, polling. You see, that's what I was saying before, that the main political parties have machines, or they have infrastructures, or they have organizations, or they have offices. They may have 2 or 3 offices in a constituency, or 1 office, or whatever. So you have to gauge the competition. When you gauge the competition, you think, okay, how can we compete? How can my candidate, who I want to win, who I feel strongly about, how can he compete? Let's say if I do a survey of 10 people, and let's say 6 people know the leading 2 parties, but only 3 people know my candidate. That's not going to change unless there's something's going to change in that candidate's administration. That candidate has to administer a different type of campaign. He has to maybe do more interviews, more workshops. He has to maybe do more spectacular rallies to get people's attention. Because politics is like it's a game, and it's competitive. It's highly competitive, and those who are already in the game are going to do everything in their power not to get anyone else to come into the game. But if you want to get it, you're going to have to take it. And the candidate, if he's not well known and you support him, you have to make a judgment before the race. What's his likelihood of winning? And if you want him to win, you have to put your influence to make sure that he does. That's why participating is important. You see? And there's many methods of campaigning, many methods.
I just want to make a point I want to ask you, David, which is if we have 30% of the people coming out to vote, no, 2 things actually. I'll get onto that a bit after. Firstly, is this, because we've been talking about national politics, but if we want to affect change, should we really be focusing on local politics, on affecting our local council, on having councillors? Is that where that's where we make change?
Definitely, and I would say that in the local elections, it's the balance of change is much more easier because the turnout is weak. If you look at no one even knows there's a local election going on, you know. But the parties, what they do is they get their votes out. They get their supporters who are not going to change regardless. Yeah, because they're entrenched. So you have to get your support out. And in the local elections for a councillor, it's only wards. I don't know if you can correct me about how much the size of a ward is. It's no more than 10,000 or 7,000 people.
We've got 21 wards with a population of 285,000. So yeah, 10 to 15,000.
Yeah, 10 to 15,000. So then you make a calculation. Okay, how many people voted last time? And it would have been weak anyway. Some councillors win on a majority of like 100 or 200. Yeah, so like the opportunity is there in the council particularly to take it. And I hope when I was talking about campaigning, I was talking about the local as well as the national, because I think they have the same system. It's still a first past the post system. So therefore, if the Labour has a 200 majority, and you know that he's not going to get more than that for the next one because they're such in dire straits, then let's say you make sure that 200 of your friends or 200 people who live in that particular area get out. and you knock on their door and you force them to come out if necessary. That's what the Labour people do. That's what the Conservatives do. That's what even the Lib Dems try to do. So, yeah. 1 minute.
No, if I can ask a question, I just put my hand up. You've spoken about, just to add to what you said, Colin, I think it really starts with community and local politics first. But you've not spoken about lobbying and the power of lobbying, and it's something that we as a community, communities need to kind of understand and use to our betterment. We need to get particular issues, initial issues sorted out, security on estates, and so on and so on.
Okay, let's say.
And representation.
I think lobbying is the key to changing or to influencing policy. All decisions in the council are made to try and create a policy, and they vote on the policy if they're going to take that policy. So they say that we take these presuppositions, and then we vote on them. To influence those presuppositions of the council, what you need to do is have facts at your disposal. So any good lobbying group, so if it's the African Women's Group of Edmonton, they have to be able to collate information and facts to support what they're saying. So if they're saying that, look, we don't want no more, we don't need guns, we don't need armed police officers, yeah, and we give the facts of other nations which have armed police officers, and we give the statistics of how many people are killed by weapons of the police, unlawful killings as well as lawful ones, and say, is that what we want here? You need to have the facts at your disposal to back up your presupposition on any given particular issue. So if you are going to lobby, protesting is one thing, but protesting has its limits, because unless obviously it's backed up by constant protesting which disrupts business, and when that disrupts business, then there's a possibility of a standoff.
And also media.
The media would play up, but more important than I would say, I think that the protesting is an added component, but the facts, being able to present information to decision makers and say, well, look, if you make this decision, it's likely that X, Y, and Z is going to happen. Yeah, why do they say that? Well, we'll look at this case study. Look at case study B and case study A. And then, lobbying definitely works. The local council has business lobbies, for example. The business lobbies in this area, they influence policy, particularly in a conservative council, which claims to be pro-business. So it wants business to come and tell it what to do. Yeah, and then the only problem with that is that sometimes these lobbyings aren't seen, so we don't know where the sources of the presuppositions came from. Again, that's people going to council meetings, people reading the local newspapers, and I read the local newspapers. It's only one a week, so it's not too difficult. You see what's in the pipeline, or you see what's being proposed. And sometimes you have upset councillors who come out and say, this is what was said, by the way, and this is what's going to happen, and it's like they're almost asking for people to make a judgment and take action. And it's up to the people. It's up to the people or the citizen to take up that action, particularly if it's something which they're interested in or affects their lives.